Well, hello. Welcome back to another segment of the Quarter Life Crisis. If you didn't see last week's episode, it was around building a strong routine, focused specifically on the book 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. I definitely recommend it. It's probably been the most impactful book I've read in all of 2020, and it's definitely helped me out. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. So I think a big catalyst in the entire Quarter Life Crisis, because I attribute it a lot to what you're doing with your actual work, with your actual employment. And I think a big reason that the Quarter Life Crisis is so prevalent is that leadership is so wrong across companies all across America. So because of weaker leadership, you end up having a more toxic work environment. And what that does is it kind of just creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of we have toxic leaders that create new toxic leaders and on and on and on. And I guess maybe toxic might not be the right word choice because I'm not meaning like someone yelling at you or abusing you. I'm just saying toxic in terms of your personal growth and stunting your own development. So that's why today's segment is called the Farm Gate Model, and I have a nice little illustration to show you what I'm talking about. When you look at the farm gate model and how business is structured, you see in the beginning that we take a lot of top producers and we just make them managers because they're good at the technical side of things. They're just doers. But there's so much more that goes into being a good leader. You think about the interpersonal relationship building. You think of resource utilization, which is basically business strategy. And as you move along in your career, the middle manager, which is the hardest role in any company, all the way up to the top, you're going to see that you're going to be doing the technical stuff a lot less. And the problem is that we're not taking the people that are really good at the long-term stuff like interpersonal and resource utilization. We're just taking the best doers and moving them up along the way, hoping that they eventually get good at everything else. So most companies have great doers, but what ends up happening is those doers end up become leaders or managers. So doers have excellent technical skill. We cannot take that away from them. But as you saw in the Farm Gate model, the farther up you go in your company and in your leadership journey, the less technical skill is really needed. As you move on, to be honest, really what you have to focus on is the relationships and the business strategy the higher up you get as a leader. But a majority of companies, that's not how they promote people. They don't promote people based on, okay, this person would be a great relationship leader, business strategy leader. What ends up happening in most companies is you just take the best doers, you promote them on and on and on, and you hope and you pray that you can teach them how to have relationships and how to basically strategize business. But as we all know, those are some of the hardest skills for someone to learn. It's the little things, like think about any one-on-one you've ever had with one of your leaders where they just weren't engaged. They were on their phones or they're on their computer. Like that's your one moment that you have. That's a huge piece of a relationship, that trust that you're building between the manager, the leader, and the employee. And with every single instance like that, you begin to lose that trust. Good leadership is harder to come by in 2020 than ever before. We've come from an era where, there were tons and tons of managers. But as I've talked about before, you're just managing compliance. You're just trying to get people to comply. You're not trying to inspire them or let them thrive. You're just trying to get them to comply. That's what managers do. So what ends up happening is you have these people in their late 20s, early 30s nowadays that maybe they already had some doubts in their mind. Maybe they had some second guessing of what they were looking to accomplish with their life. Is this role the right role for me? And all we're doing right now is we're providing them with bad leadership that's just pouring gasoline onto the quarter life crisis fire. And that's a recipe for disaster for everybody. So some people probably should be staying in their roles and staying with their jobs, but the right leadership isn't there for them to allow them to stay and allow them to thrive. So they kind of get this feeling in their stomach that they need to leave town or get out of this job or leave this company. And that's kind of what starts the quarter life crisis for a lot of people. The time period that we're in right now is already hard enough. We don't need to add bad leaders to the mix, but unfortunately, bad leaders is what we got. So I hope you enjoyed the Farm Gate model. It really hit home to me on a lot of things that I've seen across a lot of businesses that I've interacted with. And if you learned anything, it's as you're observing who should be that next leader, that next person in the company that's going to be interacting with an entire new generation beneath them, you need to be thinking way more about the interpersonal relationship skills and the resource utilization, business strategy skills versus just the doer technical skill. As always, stay healthy, stay distanced. Welcome to the Valley of the Sun.